Goodwill.
Well,
Great to see you, Vincent.
Good morning.
When last we saw you, we had so many questions. Now we only have a couple of questions and a lot of answers. Let's talk Sixers. The Philadelphia 76ers might look a little different next season now. Philly reportedly shipping Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat in a sign and trade deal. It's not done yet, but it is looking like it will be. The team will hold on to Tobias Harris, offering him a 5-year, $180 million extension. And the Sixers will add 5-time All-Star Al Horford on a 4-year deal. So, Vincent, are the Sixers now better or worse after all these reported moves?
They're certainly different.
They are different.
And I'm not sure if they're better because I think they found something in that playoff run where Jimmy Butler was their fourth quarter closer, and it took a lot of pressure off of Ben Simmons. Now you're going into this coming season, Tobias Harris is going to have to perform to this max contract. And Ben Simmons is going to have his game evolve rather quickly because there is no safety blanket in the form of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, I thought, fit the city of Philadelphia, with his ruggedness, with his take no prisoners attitude,
sure.
in a way that I'm not sure any other player on that roster does. Al Horford is certainly an addition, but did you need another big? In my opinion, does he clog up the lane a little bit too much with Embiid? You certainly have a backup center if Embiid's back and his knees don't hold up. But you also have maybe Bam Adebayo from Miami once that sign and trade goes through. So do you have too much of something similar and not enough shot creation on the perimeter? I'm not sure yet. I have to wait and see how this looks.
The way Philly is better after this deal, the only way they're better is if they are the #1 defense in the league with a bullet. They have to be not a good defense, not a very good defense, a great defense that is a couple points per 100 possessions better than the second best defense in basketball. And they can be with this starting five now. When the smallest guy is Josh Richardson, when you're going 6'5", 6'7", 6'10", 6'10", 7'1", and everyone's athletic except for Horford, you absolutely can be the best defense in basketball. Now, people are focusing understandably on Jimmy Butler's departure. The departure that they have to figure out how to make up for, because I think Tobias Harris can do a little more offensively, Al Horford obviously will help offensively, is J.J. Redick. There were times when you watched Philly last year when Redick went to the bench, everything ground to a halt. There were times where their best offense was a J.J. Redick pin down, he and Embiid action on the same side of the court. Where are you going to replace his shooting? Because Josh Richardson is a competent, above-average three-point shooter. He's not J.J. Redick. We know, even if Ben Simmons takes 2 steps next year, he ain't going to be no three-point shooter. Al Horford's a good three-point shooter for a big man. That doesn't make him a great three-point shooter in general. And so those are the real questions. But I do think Philly had to change something, and I think they had to put the onus on Ben Simmons that you are going to have to be more than you were last year. And when we're losing 2 guards or 2 perimeter guys in Jimmy Butler and in J.J. Redick, that does put more of the onus on him. This team will go as far as he evolves because we know how good Embiid is. I feel like we know how good Horford is, and it's a benefit for them. They no longer have to go through Al Horford, who gives Joel Embiid trouble, but that's not why you sign a guy to this type of deal. The question is, how much better will Ben Simmons get?
Well, how much better is the East? Because if Kawhi Leonard happens to leave Toronto, every team has gaping holes in it. Milwaukee, we don't know what that finished product is going to, but we know they're not coming back as the same team. And I wouldn't say that they're the favorite to be able to win the same number of games that they won last year. So every team that we look at in the East is going to be a little bit different. So we have to make sure that we have our expectations with the Sixers, just like the other teams, because it's a matter of can they get to the finals? That will be the question there. And a lot of that pressure, because I believe that Joel Embiid, after the playoffs and having some struggles in the playoffs with his health and things like that, I believe Joel Embiid will come back a lot better player. But I'm going to be consistent. I don't know what Ben Simmons is going to do. I haven't seen no videos this offseason of him trying to work on his shot. And you know the reason why? Because there's not good video out there. Because if there was anyone, Ben Simmons, or in his camp, if there was good video of him shooting the basketball, we'd be able to watch it every single day. So I'm going to let everyone else appropriate all their faith for what Ben is going to do. I have told you, the #1 skill to hardest to improve is shooting the basketball. And we just shouldn't give anyone credit that they're going to increase their range from 3 feet to potentially outside of 10 feet.
In one off season. So then if shooting is such an issue, Vincent, why did the Sixers prioritize Tobias Harris over a guy like Jimmy Butler, who they know, at least you saw it in the postseason, can come through for them?
Well, that was the curious thing for me when I saw that they were offering him the full 5-year max, and everything, all the intel I had leading up until last night was that Philadelphia was going to offer Jimmy Butler the full 5-year. I don't think Jimmy Butler had an issue with being in Philadelphia. I think Jimmy Butler wanted to go somewhere where he was going to get paid fully. When he got traded from Chicago, one of the big reasons he was upset was because he knew he was out of the running for the supermax contract that you can basically get only from the team that you're drafted with.
The designated player. And that's when it went bad in Minnesota, too. When he submarined everything in Minnesota, it was when they made it clear we're not giving you the max contract. And so Philly, now listen, they got Tobias Harris just under the max, almost the max. Tobias is a better three-point shooter than Jimmy. He's not a better closer than Jimmy. The question for Tobias Harris is every team he's been on, they love him, and then they move on from him. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone can't talk highly enough of him, but they trade him eventually. Philly committed to him. I think they overpaid for Tobias Harris. I think they had to. I think they understood we can't have traded what we traded away for Harris and then lose him after a year. And Philly's got to feel this way, see? Man, what if Kawhi misses? Are we the champs? Like, we came closer to beating Toronto than anyone these whole playoffs. If Kawhi misses that shot and it goes to overtime, were we the champions? And so they should feel that they were close, but I understand them retooling.
Yeah, I don't think that they felt like they had to make a choice between Tobias and Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler was leaving. And I think he was trying to play all the different strings, being Miami and Houston. But I don't believe Jimmy wanted to be back in Philadelphia. So to me, I don't believe they had a choice. So they were stuck with Tobias after the amount of things they gave up for him, knowing that Jimmy Butler was trying to leave.
And he wanted Miami for years.
That seems like the move that he wants to make. A lot of this free agency is about where do you want to go to work? And I know Kawhi Leonard and his team, they're pitching that. I know Kevin Durant. It was one of the big questions. Where does he want to go to work? Where does he want to set up his empire? And that's what Jimmy Butler, and this was about, and I believe that that's all they had was Tobias, and signing him, they had to bring him back.
Well, and you're probably right on that, but last year's playoff numbers, 15-9, that's good numbers for Tobias Harris. He's going to need to put up a lot better numbers moving forward, because now you have the specter of, it's no longer potential in Philadelphia. It's what you said. It's we are one shot away from possibly being champions, and that's the expectations they'll have going into next season.
Listen, if Tobias Harris is your fourth best player, you can win a title. If he's your second best player, you're in real trouble. The question is, if Embiid's the best, can Ben Simmons be in the top 3, and can Al Horford be in the top 3 with Tobias Harris? If he's your fourth best guy, who cares what you're paying him? You can go win the title. If he has to be your second best player, then you can't. So that's about Horford and Simmons getting better, which I feel like, are we in a time machine? This is where we were a year ago.
The exact same conversation we had a year ago.
But see, here's two things. One, it's not necessarily where Tobias ranks on if he's your best player, fourth best player. He needs to be someone that can get you a bucket 4 minutes or less without running necessarily an offensive play for him.
Which know Butler can do.
That's what Jimmy Butler's strength was at. That's where he found gold, and that was able to take Ben Simmons off the ball. Secondly, Philadelphia has shown that they can go and get a player in the middle of the season. They can assess what they need. So if they lack shooting, maybe that's something they'll address during the trade, before the trade deadline.
They do lack shooting, so they will have to address that. Vincent, stick around. Take a break. Coming up, are the Nets the team to beat for the next 4 years after adding KD and Kyrie? That's next. This is First Things First.
Nope.
Oh.